Hello, Evan. My name
Hey,
is Diane Susie. I'm volunteering with Children's Health Defense VA. They are having a Spring Holistic Expo coming up on April 2nd, and I understand that you will be one of the speakers and you'll be holding a workshop.
yeah, I'm super excited to be there. I had met Pam one time, who is kind of running a lot of this stuff, from my understanding, on a radio show that I was doing narration for her. She was a guest on. It was really cool to hear her story and what she's all about. So I'm so excited to be able to come down locally. It's only 40 minutes from my house, and really be able to speak about this stuff in that capacity. I talk about it a lot online, as you guys know. Like, even if it's not functional medicine, any niche thing, you kind of have to go scatter people from around the world and collect them. But with this, to be able to talk about it locally, that's very special to me. So I'm excited to be here.
Well, I'm excited because as I'm looking through the workshops and the speakers, I saw you come up, of course, and I'm reading I guess, the headline for your workshop, and I notice your glasses.
Yeah.
So I'm new to the game. I'm not very familiar with all of the terminology, but I am learning. And I understand your talk is going to be, is it your talk you'll be speaking about light therapy, or is it in your workshop?
We actually, yeah, we have a 20-minute presentation that's more, I guess, like kind of introductory, I guess I could say it that way. But then Pam also allowed for a workshop, which I'm really excited for, because quite frankly, I can't do this with many topics. This is something that I feel like requires a longer period of time. And I think people definitely need to attend the workshop, if nothing else, to fully learn about this stuff.
Wonderful. And what got you into light therapy?
Yeah. So
And what is light therapy?
Absolutely. I'll keep it summarized for today. Basically, what happened is, because anyone that's watching can tell, I mean, especially in this space, I'm a fairly younger person, generally speaking. It's usually people in their mid 40s and 50s that get into this stuff. Well, what happened to me is that I was sick from a really young age. I started dealing with health symptoms at 5 years old. And
Oh,
at the
wow.
time, it's not like I was thinking about, oh, this doesn't make sense. Like, humans shouldn't be sick.
Sure.
I knew I had these symptoms, and I started to realize, as my parents, they did everything that they could. They're taking me to doctors and stuff and trying to learn. It wasn't working. Like, the symptoms weren't getting better. They were actually getting a lot worse. And it seemed like we went to these doctors all the time. And God bless them. I want to be very clear. I'm not against Western medicine at all. Western medicine saves lives. It's just that the system that Western medicine is boxed in under was not meant to compete with the tragedy of today's world, with the stuff that we have going on food wise and environmental toxin wise. Western medicine, guys, was created because people were breaking arms and, then dying from the infection because a bone sticking
Right.
out. And
Sure.
babies, infant mortality was like 1 in 2 in the early 1800s, even in America. People don't know that. Western medicine has done a great job with that stuff. But where we have not been able to keep up are these chronic issues. And so it started with panic attacks, Diane. Then it was generalized anxiety. Then it was depression. Then severe cystic acne, GERD, chronic sinusitis, Meniere's disease. And I'm rattling all this stuff off to prove a point. It wasn't any one of those symptoms that was the actual problem. It wasn't any one of those conditions that was the actual problem. I think anyone that's even not in the space with a sliver of common sense has to start asking, if there's that many diagnoses, well, is it possible that something else is causing all of these things, as opposed to one of them just being the main problem? And again, for the sake of today, I'll keep it short, but I dealt with these things for over 13, 14 years. It was the Meniere's disease, which I was told was an incurable disease. It's a disease that's basically, it's attacking your inner ear, and it's characterized by tinnitus, that ringing in your ears, as
Sure.
well as extreme random bouts of vertigo. That was really the worst part.
Wow.
But I'm being told at 18, I'm going to lose hearing in one of my ears. I'm told I need this medication for the rest of my life, and that, I'm eventually probably going to need surgery. And again, this person meant well, but they're like, okay, have a good day. Basically, I'm like, what the, like,
Right.
what do you mean have a
That's all
good
I
day, man?
got.
Yeah, yeah. And so I had this really big wake up call in that moment, where I've just like, this doesn't make sense. Why
Mhm.
do I have all these things? I noticed my mom has a bunch of stuff. My grandma has a bunch of stuff. And so I got into the world of functional medicine. And like most people who get into natural or functional, I started with what? Food, diet. And
Right.
yes, that is an essential piece. You cannot go eat McDonald's every single day. That is pretty well documented and
Yeah.
understood. But people don't think about light as being the equivalent, into our health at least, of food. I'm actually, with the research I've done, I would put it as the highest thing. I think it's number one. And what I'm really referring to here is circadian biology. So I'm not trying to get too technical, but circadian biology would be this study of how does our circadian rhythm basically affect the cells in our body? How does it affect the output that we get? And I think if you master that, and I'm going to make a pretty strong case for this in the speech and in the workshop, if you master that, you will be shocked what you could get away with food wise when your light's under control. Now, if you do both, you could start, because I've seen this, I'm not making a claim, you could start seeing symptoms completely reverse and diseases that you were told were incurable no longer exist in your body. So
That's
then,
amazing.
right. Then to kind of sum that all up and then answer your question directly about what is light therapy, that's a good question because I think I use that term a little loosely and it's almost misleading, and I probably should have changed it in our business. People think about that as the seasonal affective disorder stuff, like light therapy
Yeah.
as in bright light therapy. And certainly it could be that. But to me, light therapy is the full usage, proper usage of the electromagnetic spectrum, because yes, the sun is part of EMFs, guys.
I
We all
was
talk
just going to ask that. Like, are you talking about sunlight?
yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and when people talk about EMFs, because even if you don't know what it is, like we
Yeah.
all kind of have that idea, like, oh, 5G or something like this.
Mhm.
And sure, let's focus on that and let's talk about it. EMFs, though, native EMFs are sunlight. The biggest non-native EMF that we need to worry about is actually artificial blue light. That's a non-native EMF, is isolating artificial blue light and emitting it from our screens in this way and our phones and our LED lights.
So
It,
many of us, this
yes,
is how I mean, we're having an interview on a computer.
yes.
So it's how we're living our lives. It's how we're doing this at work. We're doing this in our downtime. So this is very interesting to me.
Yeah, so light therapy in a sentence to me, and generally speaking, is the proper usage of the electromagnetic spectrum, whether that's sun or the stuff that we can use red light wise, infrared light, far infrared light. And we'll be talking about all those things in the workshop and some just absolutely crazy studies that people will wonder, how on earth is this not known by everyone here? And then you realize, oh, it's not profitable for pharmaceuticals. No wonder it's not spread everywhere.
Well, I'm glad you said it because I was going to say.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I could see why. I mean, if they can't write you a prescription, there's no money to be made.
Nope.
So
So, yeah.
well, that's really interesting. And I think that it was very insightful of such a young man at 18 to really start digging into what is happening here. There has to be some sort of root cause
Mhm.
for this. And it sounds like it took you a bit of a journey. Like you went through some stuff.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm not perfect yet, right? Because I still have to learn to. What happens is in this space, it's so funny. It's very typical. You get so damn inspired about it that now you're adding extra stress to your life by just working all the time. Like I go all the time because I love doing this, and then I remember, okay, even if I love exercise, Ev, that doesn't mean that we can exercise 14 hours a day. That's still stress on the body. So I notice minor 1-2% health stuff, little breakout here and there when I'm pushing a little too hard. But I mean, I thank God that's the biggest thing I deal with nowadays. Every other minute I feel great. I don't have these diseases anymore. I don't have depression, panic disorder, Meniere's disease. I don't have the hearing loss. I mean, it's really amazing. And so my message just to everyone is that you can heal if you know what to do. Very few people in today's world, I think, are going to be able to do this with just food. Yes, we hear those one-off cases every now and then, but there's a lot of people, and I'm sure even if you're not in the space, Diane, I'm sure you still know them. They tried the vegan diet or paleo or keto, and maybe they feel pretty damn good, but they
Yeah.
didn't get to 100%. I believe more than anything, light's that missing key for them, and we're going to talk about that.
It's very interesting that you say that because again, I am new to the space. My family and I have been on a health journey for 33 years,
Wow.
but we're not going to say anything about my age. But anyway, the point being, like, I had some issues with my youngest, and I have friends now, and all of my children have been affected by our toxic environment and exposures. So I'm coming into this space, like you said, I feel like a little late, but I'm still glad that I'm here and I'm reading and I'm learning about these things. But I do have friends who, like they'll try the diet approach first, and they get frustrated because it's not everything. It's not the whole picture, right? Is what I feel like I'm hearing from you.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
I have a friend right now with a son who is, I believe he just turned 17, and he has a lot of the things that you were describing that you were going through in your youth. So I'm sure this interview is going to be very helpful for her. And I hope that she takes the workshop because this sounds like it could be something that they could really explore.
It's especially important for the youth. There's some things I'll explain in that workshop that actually make kids, people under the age of 18, really more sensitive to the detriments of light than adults. Not that it's good for anyone. And I'll kind of tease with this. I'll keep it really short. There
Sure,
was
no
one of the most
worries.
interesting studies I probably ever read regarding light in terms of just what it means for our society and how many kids are being over medicated because of this. It was 1973, Environmental Health and Light Research Institute, ran by a guy named Dr. John Ott. Brilliant guy. He actually invented some of the camera technology. I can't quote that stuff, but the camera
Mhm.
technology that Disney still uses to this day. So brilliant, brilliant guy. And he started writing these books about light and discovering this stuff. And he ran a study with 4 windowless classrooms in Sarasota, Florida. Now, why on earth would Sarasota, Florida have windowless classrooms to begin with, right? You'd think like, this
I
is
can't
crazy.
even fathom a windowless room, let alone
Right. For
classroom.
kids, man. Yeah, for
Yeah.
kids. So the good news about that, though, is it made this study work because we didn't have any windows. So all of these rooms had cool white fluorescents. Those are really typical. You're going to see those in offices
Sure.
a lot. Certainly, your major box tail, box retailers, something like that. I don't know what they call that. I can know the science stuff. I don't know anything else. Can't tell you who the quarterback is for Philly either.
It's okay, me either.
Yeah, it's
So
kind
we're
of
good.
funny. It's very selective knowledge. So he kept 2 of these classrooms with these cool white fluorescents. And then he switched the other 2 classrooms to what are now called OT lights. And actually, certain artists might see that. My girlfriend and I were just at Hobby Lobby yesterday buying some supplies, and I saw them there because they're really good for catching all the colors. Now, that's not why you buy them, though. They're full spectrum bulbs. And to be clear, so people don't misquote this, can we mimic the sun like full spectrum light? Not even close, guys. But we
Got
can
it.
do a little better with our light bulbs. So all of these classrooms, Diane, had hyperactive children, children that were struggling in school. There was a lot of disruptions. Within 1 week of the 2 classrooms that switched to the full spectrum lights, the hyperactivity went down to almost non-existent. Only 1 kid was still hyperactive. The
Wow.
letter grades started increasing. They actually ran this for months. This is what happened. The letter grades started increasing in those classrooms. And then these dentists got involved, and they continued the study for many months. Now, this is the craziest part for people, and this is why I hope it's a good teaser. The
Sure.
kids that were in the full spectrum light rooms, as opposed to the cool white fluorescents, we didn't say they're changing diet. We didn't say that they're on an exercise program or anything like that. We're switching the lights that they go to class under. Those kids had 1/3 the amount of cavities in that time period, as did the kids who were under the white fluorescent bulbs. Now,
That
how on earth do you explain that? And I'll try to explain it to the best of my ability. We have a lot to learn about light, though, is the bottom line. And bigger question is, if in 1973 we understood that lights could affect kids and quiet down hyperactive behavior, which is now getting them put on Ritalin, Adderall, Vyvanse at
yes.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, why the hell are we still using fluorescents with kids in today's world?
I could answer that
Yeah.
question, but then our video may not get shared, so I'll be
Yes,
careful.
that's correct. That is
I
correct.
I find the dentistry piece very fascinating. I did dentistry for 13 years,
Cool. Oh,
and
cool.
that is something that I will be certainly very interested in hearing, because I want to know, what is that? Like, from that standpoint, I have friends who work in dentistry.
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's fascinating, right?
It
Fascinating
blows your
stuff,
mind.
Evan.
It blows your mind,
Yeah.
So yeah, I hope that's a good teaser for people.
That
I
was
feel like that's
wonderful.
yeah.
Excellent information. I'm intrigued. I hope that I do get a chance to see your workshop.
Sweet.
If I can't, because I am going to have a table there myself, but if I
Okay.
can't, Evan, where can I find you online? Do you have, where can I find you? Where can I find information about you and what you do?
Sure. So I always keep this simple for people. I have this odd kind of mix of careers. I overcame these mental health challenges using functional medicine. So I talk about functional medicine a lot, and people can find us at Bucks County Light Therapy on Instagram and on Facebook. A newer business. We actually just literally opened basically, but we've been working on it since October of 2021. So we got some stuff up there, and that's where you can find my more functional stuff. Evan Transue, though, on the website, like evantransue.com, is actually where I do my motivational speaking for kids. And so it's not really even about functional medicine. It's more of a
Mm,
story to get kids to ask for help, because, this is where I think we need to not be dogmatic about this stuff. A kid, obviously, we all want them to hopefully not rely on SSRIs and benzodiazepines and stuff like that.
of course.
However, I was a kid at one point who was not using medication, not doing natural stuff, none of it, because I wasn't talking about it. I promise you guys, as someone who's been in this space for a while now, a kid who's not talking about it in general is at a much higher risk of dying by suicide or a drug overdose than a kid who's on medication. I promise you. So my whole goal is just to get kids to ask for help. I do plant the seed of functional medicine in the presentations, but a lot of, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th graders aren't ready for that message yet.
Sure.
So I just plant the seed, and if they ask about it, great, we'll talk about it. So evantransue.com for that stuff, Bucks County Light Therapy for all things. Our website's temporarily down. It'll be back up in just a couple of days. So you'll see that for functional medicine stuff. And then the final place that people can find me is I actually podcast professionally for a company that I got a functional medicine certification under. So you can search for the Health Detective Podcast by Functional Diagnostic Nutrition. We have over 130 episodes of people who have overcome the trickiest of health challenges. We're talking about cancers. We're talking about autoimmune disease for 30 plus years and have lived to tell the story and how they did these things naturally and resolved them naturally.
That's amazing. I hope that everyone, after I'm done uploading our video, I will certainly reach out to you so that I can share that. That was a lot of information. I want to make sure people have those links. I think the motivational speaking at that age group is wonderful. Is that something you do for organizations or just for schools, or do you mix that up?
Yeah, you know what? It's a good question. The motivational stuff is primarily for middle schools and high schools. And I love what I do. It is one of the best things that's ever happened to me. And I know it's not forever. I don't think I'm going to be able to connect with the kids in the same way I do right now at 60 years old, for example. So that's why I put a lot of effort into that now. But I also do speak in a non-motivational sense, at least not directly motivational, through lecturing, whether it's colleges, businesses, or schools for teachers, where I talk about the functional medicine stuff. I also do some lecturing for that same place that I do the podcast for. We'll go to conferences where people are interested in these topics and we'll talk about functional medicine. So it's a little bit of both. I do picture that second thing being my long-term game because I could talk about that forever. But yeah, the motivational stuff, I do it as much as I can right now. And so, yeah, if you happen to be out there and you're someone that's in a school, feel free to reach out. We can chat about it.
I feel like you're probably going to get a lot of phone calls from teachers who have lots of fidgety kids. So,
yes, we'll change that lighting for them.
Maybe we need to just change those bulbs and help everybody out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, you've been a wealth of information in a very short period of time. So thank you so much for taking the time to meet with me today and speak with me. I very much look forward to your workshops. I'm genuinely fascinated. Don't hang up. I will, after we end the meeting, I would like to get that information and make sure that I put those links for people to get in touch with you. One last quick question though. You mentioned Bucks County. That's very close to me. So, and you're just opening. Do you have a waiting list already?
Well, it's a membership thing. So we have, people can, there's no reason that at least in the first few months, we can't get everyone in. With the space that we took, we didn't realize how much demand there would be. We probably are going to, between you and me, and I guess anyone watching this, we are probably going to have to pursue a second location within the next year, which is a good problem to have. But right now, everyone watching it is definitely could still come in. Red light therapy. We even have specialized UV therapy because yes, guys, we need UV light too. It just needs to be done properly. We have certain stuff. It's a functional medicine center as well. Meditation stuff. We're adding a far infrared sauna soon. A lot of cool things there.
Sounds just wonderful. Just wonderful. Thank you so much for taking the time to meet with me and explaining all of that to me. I look forward to your workshop and hearing you speak. And again, don't hang up. I want to make sure we get these links out for everyone.
All right. Thank you, Diane.
Thank you so much, Evan. We'll talk again soon.
Cool.